Hello, I'm Beverley. Welcome to my show. Now today I'm going to show you how to make bread. This is a recipe that's slightly adapted from my favourite baker in the world, a guy called Richard Bertonet, who is a Frenchman from Brittany, and he just makes the most amazing bread. Now, you've got to get your measurements exactly right on this. This way we're not going to add any more flour. In fact, when we are manipulating the dough, I don't want to use the word knead, because to me when I was little, when I was younger and I did cookery at school, we were told to use the heel of our hand and press it and push it and kill it and take our anger out in it. No, we're going to be gentle with this dough, and we can actually feel it coming alive in your hands. I know that sounds crazy, but seriously, you've got to try this because it's amazing. And if you've got a bread maker or if you've got a mixer with a dough hook, fine, use it, but first do this by hand so you get the feel of what the dough should be like. And it's truly an amazing experience. It's just gorgeous. So it will get very, very sticky, but I don't want you to add any extra flour to this whatsoever. In fact, to stop it sticking, we're going to add olive oil. To make bread, you are going to need 500 grams of strong white bread flour, 10 grams of fresh yeast. If you can't get hold of fresh yeast, then use 10 grams of the dried yeast, about 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, a heaped teaspoon of salt, and 350 millilitres of hand hot water. Now, hand hot means you put your hand in it, you can barely feel it. It should be the same as body temperature. So the first thing we're going to do is, you've got your strong bread flour, add into there 10 grams of yeast, and this is available online, or if you've got a bakery close or a supermarket that's got its own in-store bakery, quite often they sell their own fresh yeast, or if you go and ask at the bakery department, they'll quite often just give it to you. So what you want to do with this is just crumble it and then rub it in like you're making pastry. So just use the tips of your fingers to rub in if you want, then you can actually add the yeast to 100 mils of warm water out of your 350 mils, and add a wee bit of sugar and get it going that way, but you don't need to. To me, that's just extra work, and it works just as well doing this. Just make sure that you rub it in really, really well. What I'm going to do once it's rubbed in is add the salt, stir that round, make a well in the centre, and add our water, around about a tablespoon of the olive oil, and then either use a spoon or a scraper if you've got one, and just stir it and cut it and bring it together to form a dough. If the dough's stuck to your hands, just rub them together and it will all come off. So now for the work. I've got this lovely marble board. If you don't have a marble board, then just use the non-stick baking tray. You can do it straight on your work surface if it's clean as well. It's easier to wash down using this way. Now the other tip with your olive oil, pour some olive oil into a bowl. If you have it in a jug, you will get really, really messy hands, and you will get a really, really messy jug or the bottle, wherever it's coming out of. So what I'm going to do is get rid of any flour that I've managed to spill on here, and add a little bit of olive oil on there. Keep that close. Pop some olive oil onto my fingers, and then tip the dough in one movement onto the board, and then just pull it and stretch it. Be gentle with it, be loving. If it starts to stick, if it sticks to your fingers, then get a little bit more olive oil on there and keep going. Every time it gets sticky, add a little bit more olive oil. You want to keep going for about 5 minutes until it's smooth. Now this is starting to feel alive, it's springing back. Oh, it feels wonderful. It's almost slightly jelly-like. It's just amazing. So what we're going to do now is just fold in all those edges, just go around, turn it over. We should have beautiful, smooth piece of bread. Now, this needs to rest for exactly 1 hour, but don't put it back into the bowl that you mixed it up in, because there'll be lots of horrible little dough strands in there which will go lumpy in your bread. So clean bowl, wipe round your fingers with some olive oil, and then very lovingly and gently pick up your dough and pop it in there for a little rest. Now at this point you need to pop a dampened tea towel and over the top and put it somewhere warm but not too dry, and set your timer for an hour. If you're making this for pizza dough, then at this point you can actually cover it with 2 layers of cling film and put it in the fridge overnight so it's ready for the next morning. And that way you can also make bread rolls that are really nice for breakfast. My beautiful bread dough has been resting for an hour and it's now doubled in size. Now this is perfect to turn into pizzas, flatbreads or breadsticks. If you want to turn it into a loaf or a focaccia or something like that, then you need to put it on for a second proving. In order to do that, we're going to use a piece of non-stick baking paper, and now you're allowed to use flour. Wee bit of flour on my hands, and using my scraper I want to get this out in one piece as gently as possible without damaging any of those gorgeous air bubbles. We want to treat this gently. It feels alive. It's kind of jelly-like. It's beautiful. It's really smooth. And all you do is go round and pull it in. You can see these beautiful air bubbles. You see them as they're blowing up. Just be really gentle with this and then turn it over. And then we've got this beautifully formed ball of dough, and it's alive, it's springy. You can still see the beautiful little bubbles of air still working, and that yeast is still working, and it feels a wee bit like an alien monster, but it's going to make beautiful bread. So at this point, pop it into a greased loaf tin, cover it again with your damp cloth and leave it for 45 minutes. In the meantime, preheat your oven to the hottest it will go. And just before you put your dough in, you want to turn your oven down to around about 200–220 degrees, round about gas mark 8. The roasting oven of your Aga is fabulous. But I'm going to turn this into some breadsticks and some pizza. Put some flour on there. Gently flatten it out. I love the fact that you've got those little cute little bubbles of air going. So just roll it and stretch it until you've got a round shape, and then pop your toppings on. Out a little bit of flour on my fingers, and then just roll it in between your fingers and use gravity to help stretch it. Swap it round the other end. If you think it's easier, then roll it on, you know, granite or a marble top. It's really up to you. I just like doing it this way. And leave them until they're cold, and then you've got these. But anyway, it's a bit cool cooking. Yeah. Cooking is all about how it tastes, how it feels, how it smells. So just give this a stir until it's all melted. Keep stirring so it doesn't catch the bottom of. If the mixture comes straight off the bowl,